And we're live again. Okay, it was a nice 15-minute break. All right. No one came to talk to me. No hurt my feelings. Just kidding. It's fine. Everyone's busy playing video games. The one downside to using Discord for class is that I can tell if you're playing video games in class. I don't care, but I can tell. All right. Class time has begun, so let's get started. Just gonna roll through the syllabus real quick because you guys just got most of this information 15 minutes ago, but I'm somewhat contractually obligated to go through this. So, sorry. Da, 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 da. All right. So, any questions before we begin? What do you guys think the project is going to be like? Let me ask that. What do you think the project is going to be like? What do you think you're going to do? Tell me what kind of project do you think I got for you? What do you think you're going to be working on? And then we'll see how far you are from the reality of it. So what do you think you're going to be working on? Okay, so this is the senior design project. First, congratulations to everybody, because if you're taking this class, then you're probably going to graduate, right? This is probably your last semester, or one of your last semesters at John Carroll, and it means you're going to be done soon, and then you're going to get to work, and then you'll do that till you retire, and then you'll die. So, enjoy the rest of your life. Only half kidding, but yeah, no, it's great to be almost done. You've probably finished the hardest parts of the program. You've gotten through 228, probably 328. You've probably demolished 270 and all these other difficult classes. You've probably done some electives as well. And now you've become a competent software developer and you're in it for the final stretch. So most people at this point are going to finish. At this point, the odds that you're going to fail out are pretty low, all right? I think it's only happened like a couple times in the time I've been here. I think pretty much everybody makes it. So congratulations on getting at this point, and congratulations on nearly finishing your program. So I see, to my question of what are we probably going to be working on, something goofy, the next big thing, meetings, and doing something with an actual company. Yes, there will be stuff with actual companies. Actually, everything I got for you this semester is with actual companies. In the past, we've had a lot of projects with John Carroll internally, and this time I managed to secure all external ones. So I think those are going to be more valuable for you. And first thing I want to say is that if you haven't had any internships yet, so I'm actually going to start a poll. All right, so have you had an internship in CS, yes or no? Okay, most people have had an internship, and that's good. It's very good to have experience in CS. That's going to be a huge boon to you getting your first job. So if you've already had an internship or even a full job would be even better. But if you've already had an internship, that's great. A lot of you haven't. Looks like it's almost 50-50, and that's fine as well. But regardless of whether you have or you haven't, this class is going to give you one more thing to put on your resume. If you haven't had an internship, it's going to be even more important that you do well, because this is going to be pretty much the only professional work on your resume. And it's a difficult game out there. It's very hard to get hired in CS. That's the discussion we're going to have next time, how hard it is to get a job in CS. Blue Man in chat is flexing real hard. He's had 3 internships. If you've had 3 internships, then if I'm being honest, you don't have to do too well here, because you've already got plenty of professional experience. But if you are somebody who has not had an internship or you haven't had ones that had a lot of value, then consider putting some effort in here. Yeah, and if you've got a job lined up already, then if you're gonna cruise, you're gonna cruise. And you don't necessarily have to get straight A's. If you've already got a job lined up, no one really cares about your GPA that much. But still, you should try. You should do well. You should get one more good professional project on your resume. So yeah, this is the class you want to focus on if there is one, because this is the class where you can get something to talk about in job interviews and something to put that's not just purely academic. Everyone knows me, Dr. Garari, like Ferrari with a G. Again, sorry if I'm offensive, my bad. I don't mean to offend anybody. I want everyone to have a good time, but occasionally I like to make some off-color jokes, so sorry about that. This is a online class, and what I'm trying to do here is simulate a remote work environment. This may very well be the reality for a lot of you in the future, especially in the near future. You're going to end up being remote workers working from home. As the economy is starting to possibly recover, I mean, no one knows, of course, for sure, but as it begins to possibly recover, there are jobs opening up. There are companies hiring remote workers again. Not a lot of places are hiring in person right now. If you didn't already have a job offer before the lockdown, it's fairly difficult to secure one. There's very hard just to interview at this point because of all the restrictions. So the remote jobs are where it's going to be for a lot of you in the near future. So we're trying to simulate a remote work environment here. That means that this is a real senior design project, but it's a remote work senior design project. And I guess I shouldn't say you will learn things, because you will teach things yourself here. I am not teaching you anything here. This course has no content. It will be delivered by YouTube Live. I will still give you occasional lectures. There'll probably be like 10 to 15 minutes at the start of class. We're just going to talk about cool stuff that pertains to computer science, getting a job in computer science, the culture, all that kind of thing. So you don't get sort of surprised at your first job or at your job interviews, because this is a strange profession with strange cultural norms and all kinds of weird things happening all the time. And Discord is going to be the bread and butter of this class. You're going to be working on your projects in Discord every time we have a class. So expect to be in Discord and working with your team for most of the class. Everybody's going to get their own channel, and that's probably where you're going to hang out. And I'm going to come in there and bother you, and that's pretty much going to be most of the class there. So you do need to be on Discord during class working with your group. Contact me by email. Again, I'm available most of the day. I answer outside office hours, check my email a lot. I'll respond back to you. Office hours, there you go again. You can also join that office hours text chat and make a post. I will DM you, or I will join your group chat if I see you in there. So if one of you posts something in office hours and I see you hanging out in the group chat, I will come in there and see if you all need me. So either one of those. If you DM me, I'll just... or if you message and I only see you, then I'll DM you. If you message and I see your group, I'll probably pop in there with all of you. And of course, I'm not going to be in my physical office, just like you guys probably aren't going to be on campus. Again, you're going to need Discord, so I'm not going to go through this again. The general class rules: don't spam. That includes your personal little work channels. I do have to at least look over what you do there. It's kind of a record of how you're doing, so don't spam those channels. It's irritating. This is a group work based course based on a single large project. You're going to work on one thing the whole semester, and it's going to be a real world program for a real customer. They're going to make Mr. Steve look like a baby kitten by comparison, because real people are even worse than Mr. Steve, if you'll remember from 270. But it's going to be a real project. And that's going to be the whole class. There's nothing else. There's no homeworks. There's no tests. It's just one long project. So you're going to work with a team to build a functional, useful piece of real software. All right. Are there any questions so far? I'll come back. Program goals. Read at your leisure. You're going to need Discord, and you're going to need some kind of GitHub integration because I'm going to require you to have a GitHub or a GitLab or one of those publicly available repos for your project. So I want you to upload your code to one of those. If you don't have it integrated with your IDE, it's very tedious, but if you want to just use like command line Git or something like that, that's fine too. Just as long as you guys figure out a way to do version control and get that repo uploaded to the internet somewhere where I can see it. I'm not even going to ask you to submit on Canvas. I'm just going to look at your repo. And I am also not going to show you how to do it, so hopefully you guys can figure out how to get your repo running and how to make contributions to it, because it's one of those things that's extremely finicky and fickle and basically a rite of passage in computer science. And every time you go to set it up again, it's completely different and it's completely impossible. It's no matter how many times you do it, it always ends up the same level of frustrating. It's actually gotten quite a bit better in like the last 5 years. Since Microsoft acquired GitHub and GitLab started up, there's been a lot of improvements. And these days the Git integration comes directly with Eclipse and that kind of thing. So it's gotten a lot better, but it's still pretty frustrating sometimes. The textbook is obviously for reference only. It's a classic. It was written in the 70s. It's one of the books that sort of birthed the agile methodology that you learned so much about in 270. It's a book about the Mythical Man Month. The Mythical Man Month, if I were to summarize it, basically is that people think that if a job requires, let's say, one man 10 months to do, right, then they can get 10 people and finish it in a month. But the reality is actually that if you get 10 people, it will take you 20 months. It will take longer because organizations create complexity and chaos, and that kind of structure actually leads to more complexity, more time being taken up. That as you throw people at projects, you actually make them worse. If I was to summarize the book, that would be basically the main point. So it's a very nice read to learn more about that. It's a nice thing to have on your shelf too, because pretty much everyone in computer science has at least skimmed it. So it's a nice thing to talk about, a nice thing to talk about in interviews too, or something like that. It's an easy way to make friends. It's one of those books that everybody's read or skimmed at least, so you can kind of start up conversations with people about it, just because everybody has that common point. So I'm going to grade you, sort of, by asking you every week to make at least one commit, and I'm going to look through your repo, and I'm going to find the commits that you've made. So every week I should see something new from you, and you can organize these however you want. My preference is that you put @author, your name, and then describe what you did. And my preference is usually like at the top of classes. So if there's a class that you've worked on and you've made a contribution, there's sort of like a contribution list at the top. That's one way to do it. You can also do it directly on the methods that you've altered, but then if you make a change that alters multiple methods, it becomes kind of tedious because you have to do it for each one. You don't have to say it in terms of code. You can be kind of vague about what you did. I'll have older versions of your stuff if I need to compare, but just describe, you fixed a bug, you made this do something different, you fixed an unusual behavior in this. These are your contribution logs. And this is how I'm going to see that you're actually doing something. You're also going to need to post at least one useful message in the team Discord channel. I don't have a specific definition for useful, just something other than a meme, something that is informational. Okay, and I also want you every week to make at least one bug report or work ticket for the following week. So somewhere near the end of the week, once you have an idea of where the major issues are for the next week, I want you to put them there on the Discord somewhere, at least one, and then everybody can have an idea of what are the major bugs and work objects that you need to work on for the following week. You're going to get a grade weekly, but this is really only just to track your progress. Your actual grade in the class depends only on the finished product. So however it ends up is the most important thing. If you guys do terrible for 14 weeks, then rally and deliver a great project, you're still going to do well. It's just that it's very unlikely that you're going to rally if you start doing bad in the beginning. So I want to make sure that you're doing well the whole time. I'm going to get on your butts if you're not doing well initially. And then every other week, I'm going to have you fill out a progress report. This is going to be like rate your teammates, tell me how you're doing. It shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to fill out. It's just going to be a little quiz on Canvas. But you've got to fill it out or I'll penalize you somehow. So make sure that you fill out the progress report at least by the end of that following week. As I mentioned earlier, you've got to host your project on some public repo, GitHub, GitLab, whatever service you prefer. I'm going to clone the repo, so I'm going to make a copy of it basically at the end of each week at least. So Friday probably, I'll make a copy of all of your repos, and then I'll have all of your progress mapped out week to week, and I'll use that to track your progress. I'll see what's different between that one and last week, so I'll just put them side by side. And since your code is already going to be up there, you're not going to have to submit it to Canvas. You'll just have to give me that link once, and then I'll follow it in that future. I'm here to help you guys out with your project. I'm not going to make major contributions, but I want you to be successful. So I'll help steer you in the right direction. I'll give you help if you have big problems with your code, like the whole library broke or something crazy like that. So I'll definitely help you pick the best language or platform. You're free to ignore me. Those are going to be in my opinion only. I'm going to help you in getting hardware, software. A few of the projects require hardware, so either a specific operating system or a little mobile doodad. I'll help you get those if you don't have them. And I'll help you get software if you need that as well, though for the most part I think everything should be accomplished with free software here. And if you want to make a pretty UI, I'll help you secure art assets, sound assets, whatever you need. I'll help you find the libraries if there's something you want to do and you want to know if there's a library for it out there. I'll probably task you to search for it, but I'll point you in the right direction if it's something that's really obscure. No tests in this class, no final in this class, but expect a final presentation at the end. Obviously, we're going to be online, so it's going to be some weird Zoom, Discord, something thing that's, not quite what we're used to. But presenting things remotely is something you need to know how to do as well, so take advantage of this opportunity to make a good remote presentation. No quizzes. Attendance is not formally graded, but you're going to have to be there working with your group. Okay, you're going to have at least a weekly agile meeting. It's going to be some kind of either Scrum or Kanban or whatever you want to do, some kind of weekly stand-up, and I'm going to attend. So you're all going to have a time slot to do your Scrum session, which I know is a little bit weird because normally you'll do it at the beginning, but unfortunately I've got to join your channel and listen in, so I'm going to give you all a time slot. I'm going to attend your meeting. It shouldn't run more than 15 minutes, so make it quick, as these meetings should be. And I'm just going to use that as my opportunity to gauge how you're doing, because those are the kinds of meetings where everybody is supposed to present how they're doing. And of course, everybody loves Scrum. It was the highlight of 270, so I'm sure it'll be the highlight of this class as well. If you're routinely missing from that meeting, or if you're routinely missing from Discord in class in general, and no one on your team knows why, that's definitely going to count against you at the end. So if you're not showing up and not contributing, then that's not going to go in your favor. So make sure you show up and contribute and talk in the daily stand-up so I know what you're doing. There's only going to be the 3 or 4 of you plus me there, so it's not really public speaking, it's just a few people, and I'm not going to participate. I'm just going to listen, so don't even worry about me. I'm not really judging you or anything. I'm just making sure that you're actually doing something. I don't particularly care what it is or how you present it or anything like that. The final grade for your project is going to be based on mostly functionality. So does it work? Does it run? Does it do something that resembles what it was intended to do? Does it look something like what was ordered? Forgot to mute my phone for this class. That's on me. All right. Is your project fit for use? Does the client like it? And if they don't necessarily like it now, are they happy with where it's headed? Is it technically sound? Is it going to be a good piece of software? Good software is a really abstract term, right? But there are some things that I think are fairly consistent. If you somebody, an average person, was to look at your UI and go, "Whoa," then that's probably not a good thing. Does it, when you turn it on, send all the system fans to max because of how many resources it uses? That's probably not a good thing. Can your client actually run it without installing a bunch of other weird dependencies or navigating through some obscure set of steps that makes it look like they're casting a magic spell? Then that's probably not good either. Does it crash a lot? That's also not good. So if your software doesn't have any of these elements of badness, then it's probably good software. So I guess my definition of good software for this criteria is it not bad software? So don't write bad software, and then you'll have good software. Easy. A lot of your score is based on the documentation. Is it well documented? Can the user use your application without reading the 25-page training manual? That comes in with documentation. So you should have some user-facing documentation, and that documentation should be brief and thorough and good. And so hopefully you're going to learn how to do that in technical writing. That's kind of a tie-in between these two courses. But at the very least, your thing should be readable and solid. And the next development team that picks this up after you, if there is one, because these projects might not end with you, they should be able to look at it and at least somewhat understand it and not curse you for just writing a bunch of magic numbers and obscure information with no references. And then you have your final presentation, which is worth a pretty significant chunk of your grade there, 10%. So make sure that you put in a fair amount of effort in presenting it well to the rest of the class and to me, and we'll probably have the clients attend that presentation too, so there'll be some professionals there too, and just let everybody know what you did, how it works, what kind of project it is. Present it like it's a piece of software. We'll talk more about that later when it draws closer, but that'll be a pretty significant part of the end of the class for you. And then there are a couple bonuses here. The first bonus is going to be for accessibility. So you're making real software that's supposed to be used by real people. That means that you should support the people out there who have some aberrant physiology. So there's something about there that's not quite standard. For example, a lot of people out there are colorblind. So if your software has some sort of feature that allows colorblind people to use it better, that might give you some extra credit. There's quite a few blind people out there too. If your software supports the blind, that'd be even better. That would be pretty hard to do. It's very difficult to make software that's blind folk compliant. And people who have limited motion, people who have any kind of abnormal condition that makes it more difficult for them to use your regular piece of software. If you accommodate for them somehow, then you might get some extra credit. If you accommodate for them by virtue of just not using, let's say, your application is just in black and white completely, I'm not going to give you credit for supporting color blindness. If your application doesn't have sound, I'm not going to give you credit for supporting deafness. It has to be an added accessibility component for you to get extra for it. And then there's another bonus for a proper handoff. So at the end of the semester, even if you're not handing off the project, you are going to hand it off to some developer in the future because software doesn't last forever. Someone will have to maintain it. And so if you write a proper handoff for whatever the next generation of developers is that's going to be working on it, that's going to be worth 5% extra credit. So the more I think that the team that gets it is going to be able to see your handoff and hit the ground running, the more extra credit I'll give you in that category. And again, you voted for generous grading here, so I'm going to try to give everybody who participates meaningfully and produces something remotely resembling what they were asked for a good grade. These kinds of classes, the senior design, it's basically a last year thing. Hopefully everybody gets a B or better. It's definitely not the kind of class where I'm trying to give out low grades. I want everybody to do well here. And The calendar is pretty boring because there are no scheduled topics in this class. You're just going to work on the project every week. Every week is project, right? But check those dates for things like Mass the Holy Spirit and the weird Friday class on Tuesday for Thanksgiving break, all those things. Make sure you keep those in account. Now, plagiarism policy here is a little bit different. Okay, so I don't care what you use. As long as it's free or legal, you can copy the internet. I don't mind. You don't even have to cite your source or anything unless you need to for licensing reasons. So if their license dictates that you need to give them credit, then give them credit. Otherwise, you don't have to. You don't have to tell me where you got anything. It doesn't matter. You can use any libraries or anything that you find out there that's freely available. In fact, you're encouraged to do it. The more that you recycle, the better your finished product might turn out to be. All right. So the less that you try to rewrite the wheel, the better. If you can find a good working library for something that you need, by all means use it. Don't go into this crazy dependency trap where you have 1,000 different libraries for teeny weeny little things that need to be done. If there's just one small little bit that you need to do, then maybe consider writing it yourself. But wherever possible, or you think it's going to save you some time instead of cost you some time, by all means get it from the internet. Don't use pirated software or things that cost money, though, because you're going to be delivering this to a real customer. They're all corporate customers, so they can't use pirated software. I'm going to penalize you if you use something that's not free to the customer and they're not okay with it. So make sure that everything you use is financially free to the customer, or they are okay paying for whatever it is. This is going to be especially an issue if you use some kind of networked application like a server. If you use like AWS or Azure or something, those have free options for low levels of use. If you don't exceed that, then maybe you have a case to stick with that. But I would probably try to avoid those things because those might end up costing the customer money. And then also, how do you hand off the Azure or the AWS to them? So if you're planning on using one of those, make sure you talk with your customer and make sure they're aware of what they're getting and the limitations and what they have to do and all that kind of thing. Now, there are going to be here some projects that the customer is willing to pay for some stuff. They are going to be making some purchases, and you can feel free to talk with them and guide them in the direction of purchasing the thing that you think they should get, but you will probably have to work within the confines of what they're able to purchase. It might not be what you want, so keep that in mind as well. And yeah, so if you use anything that's not free or pirated, and that might cost you a little bit on your final grade, I will penalize the whole team because it's on all of you to make sure that everything you use is free. If you have a question about how something is licensed, let me know. If it's on Stack or something like that, it's probably free for general use. Most libraries are like Creative Commons or something similar where you just have to give them some credit somewhere and it's good enough. Yeah, so just ask me if you have any questions. And if you contract a third party to do any of your work, obviously I'm going to fail you. But also make sure that you attribute all of your credit accurately. Don't give somebody else credit for your commit. Don't take credit for somebody else's commit. I'm going to penalize you if you do that substantially because I want everybody to do what they said they did, do your own work, and make contributions. Disability and discrimination statements at your leisure. They are the same, again, spoiler alert, as all the others. And again, be respectful, get Discord, make friends, ask questions, be diligent. There's no falling behind here, haha, so that doesn't even apply. There's also not really any homework, so that doesn't really apply. I do expect you, speaking of homework, to work on this outside of class. So the expectation is not that you do all of your work on this project within the like 2 hours or so a week that we have of class time. That's the time when you guys are working together. Then there will be a lot of individual work outside of class. For you to make meaningful progress and finish this by the end of the semester, you're going to have to do at least a few hours of work. Going back to the Mythical Man Month, I think my estimate of most of these projects is that at the 4 hour a week mark, these are all something like 3 month projects for a group of 3 or 4 people, and so these are all fairly difficult projects that are going to push your ability to finish them. And again, you don't necessarily need to finish to get a good grade as long as you're going in the right direction and everybody's pretty happy with where it's going. You'll probably still get an A. So don't be upset or start to like grind down 10 hours a week if you're on week 12 and you're not finished. As long as there's good progress, you're doing well. All right, any questions on the syllabus? Is that the last slide? Yeah. All right, any questions on what we're doing? A copy of this is on the Canvas files page as well. A copy of the syllabus. Alright, close the syllabus. And a copy of the projects is also there. The customers are, someone asked, are the customers expecting a finished product? The customers are aware that there is a possibility that they won't get a finished product. So they hope they get a finished product, but everybody knows that you guys are working for free and you're students, and it's possible that you're not going to finish, especially because some of these project descriptions are super vague, and who knows how far they go. So even the idea of finished might not even exist. There might not even be a finished for some of these. So in that sense, no, you don't necessarily have to finish. You just have to make good progress, and there might not even be a finishing. So this first project is actually one of those examples. So there are 2 organizations that I got to work with us. One is I believe they're a nonprofit, I'm not sure. But they are they are online education company, and they are one of the companies that we are working on. We're using their software now to teach some of the lower level classes. So you didn't have them because you had those lower level classes some time ago, but I think starting from last semester we started using their stuff, and they have a lot of things in open source development, and they want some people to work on those. And so they're sort of in the startup phase. They're not a very large company. They don't have a lot of employees, and they're mostly open source, and they operate in that sphere of remote education, which is really growing right now. So you can have a named contribution there. And then the other company, that company is called Runestone, by the way. I'll go into them more a little later. And then the other company is a multinational, so that's Avery Dennison. It's my wife's employer, and I know quite a few people at Avery. I know some of the people at corporate as well. It's a great company. It's one of the best manufacturing employers in this area. My wife's worked for a lot of the major manufacturers in this area, and I would say that Avery Dennison is probably one of the best. A lot of people know them from, if you've ever seen a sticker of any kind, especially office stickers, they probably say Avery on them. They actually sold the sticker division some years back, though. So this is Avery Dennison, which is still, they're primarily an adhesives and tape company. They make the stickers that go on almost everything. They make the stickers that go on any kind of bottle. So for example, here's a bottle of skin lotion, and there's a sticker on it, right? And this sticker was probably made by them. If you have a wine bottle or something, that sticker was probably made by them. So the stickers that go on most commercial products come from them at some point. The building that you're going to be working with, the building that's up here in Northeast Ohio, makes primarily medical tapes, tapes for automotive use. So instead of bolts, they make tape that holds different automotive parts together. They make high-end performance tapes. Those are tapes that are designed to hold 2 things together for real. So like you go to the store, you buy that super expensive tape, the stuff that's like $20 a roll, and it's double-sided, and if you stick something to it, it never comes off. You can hold crap to your wall with it. Yeah, obviously. I mean, who doesn't have hand lotion next to their computer from Discord? Yeah, so any kind of high-performance tape, they manufacture that. Some of those here in Northeast Ohio. And then they also manufacture medical tapes and like not gauze, but you know, the sticky adhesive gauze, and then also the tapes for like insulation. You know, insulation has to be taped up before it's secured there. Hey guys, There's nothing wrong with having gentle skin cleanser on your desk, okay? It's gentle and it's great for dry skin. It's actually, okay, if you really want insight here, it's unopened. All right, so if that makes you feel better. So that's their company. They're a Fortune 500, so a big company, a lot of name recognition, useful for putting on your resume that you know, at least participated in a project there. And there are generally a somebody who employs people who have already had experience. So it's unusual for them to have something like a student project. Usually they hire people who are already pretty competent in their field. It's not somewhere most people start. It's usually somewhere people go after they've worked for a few years. All right. So the first project that's at Avery Dennison is a safety department automation project, and this is just first. What's written here is their summary. So I asked them to write a summary for us, and that's what they say. And then I talked to all the people who have projects, and there it's. I'm going to give you my impression of it as well. So the first one here, the safety department there. So it's a big facility. They spin a bunch of tape, and the spinning of tape, of course, is a dangerous process. So safety is a big concern there. My wife works in the safety department there, and they have a lot of training. They have a lot of environmental compliance requirements. They have a lot of employees. I think they have something like 200 employees, and all of those people need to be trained, and every quarter, I believe, they need to fill out an environmental report. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. And so the first project is basically a simplification of the paperwork process there. So the way that building works is most things operate through Google Suite. They have their subscription to Google Suite, and they run most things through Sheets. So when somebody takes a safety quiz, which is like basically at least once a month, that result of the quiz gets uploaded to a sheet somewhere. That sheet might get distributed to other sheets. Then on other sheets, you can see what department that person works in and things like that. If somebody does worse than the threshold, so if they need to get like a 70 or better to pass the safety quiz, then they're supposed to take it again. If they don't take it again, then somebody needs to manually find that out, email the manager of their department, and so you would need to figure out who the manager of their department is. It's a very complicated process. You also need, for compliance reasons, to maintain a record of all those different safety quizzes. So basically, this is taking this Google Forms and Sheets approach and automating it so that people take the quizzes. It's automatically filled into where it needs to go. If they don't do well, it automatically emails their manager. You can always audit past quiz by looking back and seeing, who passed, who took it, all that kind of stuff. There's maybe a complete list of employees, and it's easy to add or remove them. All that kind of stuff would be a part of this. The other part of this is kind of a grab bag, this particular project. It has a few different things. So the other part of this is that environmental report. So to generate the environmental report, they have a bunch of machines, tons of machines, and all the machines have programmable logic controllers. Those programmable logic controllers report information to Historian, which is an application that basically charts different values like emissions and things like that from the programmable logic controller reports. Historian allows you to export that information as a CSV, or you can read it manually as a graph. And so the method that they have now is that they manually read Historian's results as a graph. They find the relevant parts if there's any exceedances in the thresholds that the EPA allows, and they have to screenshot those graphs, put them in the report, whether or not there's an exceedance or not. If there is an exceedance, then they have to provide a reason. So in that case, there would have to be some human involvement. But the goal here is to take all that information automatically from all of those machines, take out the human element, which is tens of hours of work parsing all of that info, and just populate that final report that goes to the EPA automatically. So those parts that don't exceed the allowances, it should automatically generate a graph, put it in the report, say there were no exceedances, and generate a full document that includes all of that information just ready to send off to the EPA. And then different other sheets, automations around the office, so things in the same vein of the quizzes for the safety training. There are also similar sheets for the training schedules and things that could be better simplified. That's the first project. All right. The second project, also at Avery, this one comes from the quality department, actually from the last step there. So after the tape has been manufactured, it goes into boxes. Those boxes sit in their massive warehouse, many, many rolls to a box. The machine that boxes and generates the tape is top of the line from many decades ago. So it has a built-in printer, and it can stamp the boxes with something, but they're not entirely sure what. So that'll be something you talk to them about. And what you're going to want to do, what they want you to do, is to make some kind of system where they can scan the barcodes on the tape and pack them accordingly. Because what they do right now is they print, so onto paper, a order sheet, and that'll have maybe dozens of different products that the customer ordered. Somebody has to physically walk to the different products and check them off on paper, pack them in for an order, and then ship them out. And so what often happens is that, well, not often, but at least a few times a year, the person who's picking the orders will make a mistake, and they'll ship either too much of something or not enough of something to a customer that hits their fulfillment rate. They're very big on customer satisfaction there. They want to make sure that all the customers get precisely what they order. So they want something like an Amazon-style system where the employee has some kind of hand scanner. They go around and they scan what they need for the order and they put it in the box. And then there's less room for human error in forgetting something or putting too much of something in the box. And these are pretty large rolls as well. So these aren't like like you're buying tape from Amazon or something and you're getting like small sized little circle rolls, and these are like very large rolls. So it's relatively complicated in person. This one might maybe even involve a tour. You might get to see what it's like because the customer or the people that do it, you kind of need to know their environment probably. So this one might involve you getting to tour the facility and see how they do it, where you can improve it. All right. Anything else about that one? Yeah, I think that describes that one pretty well. Oh, and this is the primarily the HVAC and mechanical tape. So those are those ones for insulation and for automotive and uses like that, binding automotive parts together. Okay, third project is again with the safety department. This is a safety equipment inspection app. So this is actually just a single piece of software that they'd like you to generate. So this is going to be probably a Windows application, it looks like. So it's not going to be mobile. It looks like they want to purchase Windows tablets for the people on the floor, but I'm not sure about that. So you're probably going to ask what kind of hardware they want, but it's probably going to be Windows. And what they want is an application that they can use to complete their safety checklist, because again, right now it's mostly done on paper. And so around the building, it's a big building, they have a ton of, let's say, fire extinguishers, for example, and every, I don't know, so many months somebody has to look at all the fire extinguishers, verify that they're not expired, if they are expired, change them out, etc. And so what they would like to do is have a barcode or a QR code on every safety-related item in the building. So every fire extinguisher, every eye wash station, whatever, is going to have a barcode. And when it's time for inspection, and they have regular employees performing the inspection, so the person who is inspecting will scan that barcode, and then they will enter something that identifies them as the employee, and they will get credit for that inspection. And maybe that will even send an email to the safety department saying that the final inspection was completed by such and such. Or maybe it'll go to a sheet. That part is probably going to be something you talk about. And then, so they scan it, and it pops up a list of all the pertinent information that they need to perform that safety check. So it pops up where that item is. And so you could scan maybe a barcode like at the desk, and it'll pop up where they need to go to get to that eye wash, for example. And then when they scan that eye wash, it pops up maybe on a map of the facility where it is, what it is, and have a picture so they can verify they're in the right thing. It'll show like the last inspection date, whether or not it passed inspection, and then any open action items. So an action item might be like you need to replace the fire extinguisher, the eye wash needs to be checked, so it needs to run water or something like that. And then there will be a checklist for them to perform the action items, check them off, make sure that they did them. Once the inspection is picked, it'll open up the inspection report. They can check the tasks one at a time. And then it'll also ask them questions. Those questions will facilitate completing those safety checks, right? So if you turn on the eye wash station by pressing the handle, that's an action. And then if the water runs clear, go to the next question. And if not, then that's going to be something that's going to be assigned to a task down the road or something. So then at the end of the thing, it says whether the item passed or failed the inspection. If it fails, then it'll automatically send an email to a list of the relevant people, so mostly people in the safety department, to say that it failed, and then those people will take care of it. And if it passed, it should just go to like a database or sheet or something, or maybe even an email to a different list just saying that it passed. And in both cases, it should give credit to the inspector. They want Google Sheets, but I think they said they were open to other options, so it's going to be something you talk to them about. And what you are doing here is actually not replacing, but building an application that already kind of exists. So there's already a few things out there, and the reason that they are not using one of those instead is, for example, this eye auditor that they linked here as an alternative that does basically what they want here, has a per employee charge, and it's monthly, so it would be on the order of, I think, $4,000 or $5,000 a month for them to buy that product. So you're going to be writing something that replaces a product that essentially costs like $60,000 a year. So it's pretty cool. And then the last set of projects. So these are going to be probably multiple groups, but they all come from Runestone Interactive, which is that educational company. And I don't know a lot about these. I haven't spoken to this person directly. We've only emailed. But these are projects that he believes are each, there are 3 projects here, each kind of large enough on their own to be their own project. So this could be up to 3 groups. It might be 3 smaller groups. It depends on how much interest there is in these ones. So the first project he has is a project management update. All of these are pending issues on his kind of open source stuff. So for the project management part, they want an improvement in when you work with Runestone, you can assign like students to do projects. Like you can add projects that they need to do, and they're basically just trying to improve the user interface and the way those projects are arranged so that it's easier for instructors to add projects, easier for students to see them. So projects can add, or instructors can add projects for inclusion in this project table. The projects all have some kind of keywords or like a description that tells you what you need to know to do those projects. So this is apparently a pretty big thing on its own. So this might be enough on its own. And then there's the book management portion. So similarly, you can add books to Runestone. So let's say that I, as an instructor, wrote like kind of my own textbook for you to do a class, so I can add it to Runestone. But then if I need to make a change, Evidently, it's difficult right now to push a change, especially if it's a small change. You have to go through this whole process again. So they want to have a streamlined process for pushing small corrections and changes to books. So for our instructors that write custom books, we are going to get some way to push these small changes there. And then the last one is template questions. So a lot of runestone questions have hard-coded values. If you've worked with other like homework software, online learning things, I hate to even invoke their name, but like my math lab and those different terrors of your life that I'm sure many of you had to suffer through. Those have dynamic answers, so you and your buddy don't cheat. So the example he gave here is what is 2 plus 2 with hard-coded answers 3, 4, 10, D. So if you and your friend both do the same homework assignment, you might get 2 plus 2, your friend might get 3 plus 3, and totally different multiple choice answers. And that helps to reduce cheating and reduce the ability to upload those questions to Chegg or whatever, like everybody does. So those are he wants to add the ability to make dynamic questions like that, but in a programming context. So you're going to be allowing them to make these programmable questions with this programming environment. So I don't know what it would be, but I'm guessing it'd be something like write a for loop that iterates 10 times or 5 times or 8 times. So those are the random options that you could have. Okay, so those are the projects, and you are going to be split into groups of 3 or 4. I'm going to put up a survey after class here, and I'm going to ask you what projects you're most interested in, any specific people you're interested in working with, anything like that. If you have any other criteria you want to be grouped with, put it in Discord or chat now, because mostly I'm interested in what project are you most interested in, and if there are any specific people you want to group with, I'll override it based on that. But basically, I'm going to assign everybody in the order of the projects they prefer. So if I see 3 people that have like project 1 as their top choice, then I'll put those 3 people on project 1. If you want a different criteria, let me know. If you want the criteria to be who has the least dry skin, I can accommodate that. You just need to submit a picture of your desk and confirm that you have hand lotion. Yeah, you can also talk amongst each other and decide who you want to work with that way. I'm going to have the group chats assigned to you once you've picked a project. 3 and 4 here, alright. Okay, so we got some preferences going already. And of course, if everybody wants the same ones, then you might not get the one that you wanted necessarily, right? So if everybody gets the same ones, you might end up with the one you didn't want. Yes, I was planning to get a few more this semester, but unfortunately, due to the whole pandemic thing, a lot of people ended up dropping out. A real shame. Oh, I didn't mention this, and I'm sorry to cut in on you. People who are healthcare majors must pick either 1 or 3. So those of you who are healthcare majors must pick one of the ones that works with the health and safety department. Yeah, I'll put up a survey. You'll fill out the survey. If you have another criteria that you want to be judged by other than your preference, then let me know in Discord. Alright, so we're going to duck out early today. I'm going to put up that survey. This project list is already available on Canvas. Next time we're going to open up with a lecture about getting a job in computer science, and then we're going to go right into your groups. Okay, so for in person, I have a question Discord about going in person. So hopefully not, but if there is a tour, it'll probably be optional, so it'll just have to be at least one person from your group will go. They have a hard time getting visitors right now. They just started letting contractors and visitors back in the building. I would like your survey results. If I post them later today, I'd like them by Thursday, preferably, because the faster you get started, the better it is for you. So try to get back to that survey as soon as you can by Thursday, hopefully. If you don't answer, you might end up getting one that you didn't want, because I'll probably prioritize the people who respond first, or something like that, when there's a tie for one project. And so back to the in-person question, you probably won't have to meet with your group in person. You guys will have to communicate, but you can probably do it all over Discord. Likewise, you're not going to have to meet with the client in person. I'm going to give you, each of these clients has a point of contact they've specified. I'm going to give you their information, and you'll probably communicate with them from then on, and I probably won't communicate with them at all, so it'll be all you and them talking to one another. I won't talk to the client until the very end to see how you did. So that person, I think all three of the points of contact for these don't have any interest in in-person meetings, I think, right now, so it'll all be probably remote. Avery does almost everything again through Google, because they have that Google Suite subscription, so they do everything through Hangouts. And I think Runestone does Hangouts as well. I'm not sure. He probably does Zoom too, because he's in education, so it's going to be one of those platforms for communicating with them. And then obviously email as well, which is going to be why we're opening up with email in the technical writing class, because I wanted to tie in with this. For any kind of tours that you do of Avery, it's going to have to be optional. So if you don't want to go, you don't have to. Hopefully at least one person on your team can go. Check out what's going on there, because it does help to see it in person, I think, for a lot of these. All right, let me leave it open for questions for a few more minutes, and then we're going to call it a day. So just a few more minutes for questions. Someone asked, will they give us access to Google Suites for reference? So John Carroll also has something of a subscription for the Google Suite. We have the full access to Sheets, and we have unlimited drive storage and all that stuff. I think we have roughly the same tier as them. So for all the Sheets and stuff that they want you to work with, they'll probably make you a copy, and you will work on those. It's unlikely that they'll give you access directly to their system until you're pretty near to done, and you can test with a pretty high confidence that you're not going to break anything. But you'll have a very similar environment to work with, because we have that same subscription, and it's pretty easy to get those Sheets up and running. The only difference between your environment and theirs is going to be that their environment pulls this data from other Sheets automatically, and yours might just have it hard-coded there. For the two projects that require a scanner, somebody asked if they're going to get a tablet. So the second project is going to require some kind of hand scanner. They haven't decided what yet. And the third project is going to require a scanner as well. Now, the building works with a lot of super combustible material, and if there's a spark in the tape development process, because they work with a chemical, it's basically like gasoline to make tape. If there's a spark and the vapors ignite, there'll be a crater several miles big where the building used to be. So they have a very specific list of devices that they can use. They have to buy these tablets and scanners that are very, very expensive. Not so much on the dock. I think at the dock the gas risk is lower, so they might be able to get away with a regular scanner. That'll be up to the safety folks there. But at least on the floor, they have to use a very specific tablet. So last I saw, the tablets they were looking at were Windows tablets, and they're on the order of like, I don't know, very expensive, like way more than you would expect to pay for a Windows tablet, like $5,000-$10,000 or something for a single one. But they are just Windows tablets. So as long as you have a Windows laptop, you have the same thing, basically. You just have the version that doesn't guarantee that it won't create a spark and explode. So as long as you have a Windows computer, you can do 3 for sure. And I think that if you don't have a Windows computer, if you have Mac, you can still contribute to that without any problem, because you can probably use a virtual machine on Mac. They seem to work pretty well. And if not, we can see about getting you access to something that does have Windows on it. I do have, if they decide to go with Android, I have some Android tablets you guys can borrow, some phones if they decide to go with that as well. If Project 2 decides to go with a hand scanner, I think they'll probably let you borrow one. They're not very expensive. Probably get one of those. Any other questions? Okay, well, if you have any more individual questions, I'm going to hang out on Discord for a bit after this. For today, I'm going to sign off and keep thinking about what project you want to do, and if anybody specific who you might want to work with, and I will put the survey up later today. Please try to have that filled out by Thursday. All right. Adios.